Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and today I'm headed towards Undup in the Iban tribes lands, in the borderlands between Malaysia and Indonesia on the island of Borneo, the third largest and probably most fruit-rich island in the world. I'm starting out in the city of Iban, a Chinese trading post that's turned into a medium-sized city just because there is nothing else for hundreds of kilometers around. Since I crossed the border from Indonesia and also on the market of Iban, I noticed that we are still kind of in the fruit season. Here we have some Persian lime, well, the guava one. Oh, hi kucing, hi cat. This one looks so feral. Looks almost like a wild cat. Well, one cohort of the guavas is already rotten, but the other one is coming. Well, the acerola has no fruits right now. Neither does the soursop. Neither even the star fruit. But still, I did see a lot of rambutan since I crossed the border from Indonesia, and I also saw a lot of interesting fruits on the market of Iban. Oh, here by the way a very important survival flower, the African tulip tree, since unlike the tulip, the flower is asymmetrical and the petals are fused. You can actually collect water from those flowers hours after rain. Imagine you don't have a good source of water, it rains, the water falls to the ground and gets dirty. What do? Well, you don't drink it from the ground. You look into each flower, how many drowned bugs there are inside it. If there are no drowned bugs, you can get a sip or two out of each flower. Very important survival flower. People always think about food, but that's why the tulip tree is so important. It can give you water. You can last for many weeks without food and for many months with minimal food, but you need water every day to function properly. Even the small amount you can find in a couple dozen flowers of the tulip tree, here in the background by the way, can be the difference between life and death. And the difference between drinking from the tulip tree or drinking from puddles on the ground can be the difference between staying healthy or getting Montezuma's revenge. Construction sites and other empty grounds are great places for foraging if you manage to get across the muddy ditches, because those are sources of infection. Let's do some jumping with two heavy backpacks. Yay! Physalis angulata. Of all Physalis species, this has the biggest natural range, basically from Patagonia to Canada, all of the Americas more or less. And here you can see it grows very well in equatorial climate, and it's so invasive that basically soon its range can be just the whole world. Wonderful small, okay, drop this. Wonderful small edible fruits. Bah. This one was a bit underripe. Better stick to the ones which are yellow, because the fruit will also be yellow. Another yellow fruit here, another invasive. Stinky passion flower. You can eat not only the fruit but also the whole wine. However, the fruits are still unripe. Don't eat them. Hi buddy, you seem like a nice dinner. Oh, he's gone. I'm a vegetarian. Come on, don't run away from me, little doggy. Also, an abandoned shack. A good survival shelter if you happen to run out of money in the big city. When foraging in a public space, remember this might be just a spot to put your trash cans with nice big papaya fruits next to them, but somebody has probably planted this papaya, somebody has let it survive during constant maintenance of the lawn, And somebody probably consider this their papaya and want to forage them. So yeah, the survival situation when you are out of money, I don't stop you from eating this, but as a normal tourist, don't just go around random cities and rip tons of random fruits just because they grow in publicly looking places. In many countries, most of them will actually have been planted and maintained, and in the best case also harvested by some particular private person. If you have money, you can stay in a fancy hotel, but since I like to have money for a long time, I usually avoid those and stay in nice, cheap to middle class hotels. Just a suggestion. The beautiful hibiscus flowers are pretty much all edible. However, I advise you not to eat your way through a whole park. They don't have a lot of substance, so eating 100 or so of them is quite easy, but people want to enjoy their beauty, so eating 2 or 3, okay. If you are really hungry, eat 100, although they are not too nutritious. But just try to respect the parks and not and not basically eat everything bare. Yeah, I know this was a German expression. Alles leer fressen. For the first 26 kilometers I want to use the bus. And coincidentally, the bus station is inside the giant market building. And this is just one of the buildings of one of the markets of the small city. Use such opportunities to assess the fruit season. Rich gourds are not seasonal, neither are bananas. However, duku is. Pumpkins and papayas are not, neither are chilies or dragon beans. Champedak is seasonal, so are dragon fruits. So is dabei haibu. Well, ibu is more of an Indonesian expression, but I think they still get it, that it's kind of respectful. Oranges, those are tropical mandarin oranges. White mangoes, yes, those are white mangoes, just not wadi. Rambutan, pulazan, and belimbing merah are seasonal. So those are good signs. We have a bunch of seasonal fruits. Not as many as we had around here 2 months ago. Also, I saw rambai somewhere when I visited the market this morning. Rambai is usually the last fruit of the fruit season. The Iban told me that when rambai ripens, basically the fruit season is towards its end. The green buses in Borneo, well in Sarawak, are highly subsidized. And that's why you have to be careful, because often people will try to make you pay through your nose taxi prices for a bus that's basically almost free for everybody else. I'm really tempted to take this bus to the nearby smuggler market of Lashao. Not so interested in the smuggled artifacts and handicrafts, more in the rare fruits you can find there. But no, today I'm going the other way. Welcome to Kavigo. The more interesting part of those markets is usually the one where people don't even have stalls, but just a piece of plastic. Often it's outside on the street. Here in Sriaman, it's in another big building where there is also the food court. I might be big and fat and totally able to miss a couple meals, but you don't stay big and fat by missing meals. Hi, Bu. Ya, nasi goreng ada?
Nasi goreng ada.
Tiada. Oh, okay. Ketiau ada. Ini ketiau sayur telur tanpa daging?
Tak ada daging.
Tiada daging. Bagus, bagus.
Saya mampir. Ini.
Ini apa? Dabay?
Dabay goreng.
Oh, bagus po. Okay. Kitiao dabay goreng silakan. Tanpa daging, tanpa ayam, tanpa ikan, tanpa ajinomoto. Okay lah, Ibu?
Mau goreng kecil?
Yes, correct. Bagus.
Campur dabay. Simpan dabay.
Yeah.
Terima deh.
Terima kasih, Bu. As an old Chinese trading post, Sri Iban has great fusion cuisine. Broad Chinese noodles and pickled dabay or Borneo olive. It's very different from the Mediterranean olive, but it's totally understandable. Well, they named it the Borneo olive. Also to round it all up, couple of rare fruits, jungle durian, tastes amazing. The super rare langir fruit, sweet and sour, and also you can use the rind as soap. And then cactus, the most common of the many endemic Borneo longans. Everything is suspiciously closed for a bus which is supposed to leave in a half an hour. The more expensive companies are open, even though they don't operate buses today anymore, but I guess the price of the tickets makes it worth it. Checking the same fruit arrays for the 5th or 6th time today. Sometimes it's some small, inconspicuous fruit hidden among the more common stuff, which can be a unique discovery. Sometimes even they are too ashamed to put out something which they think is too rare or too common or too simple. So sometimes even looking into their private areas can yield incredible stuff. And yes, I saw soft-shell turtle, a giant monitor lizard, and monkey on another nearby market. Cannot film the bushmeat for you all the time. This is Fruit Channel. Guess what? The nice lady from the competition says, no bus at 1:30, but we have a bus at 3 o'clock. Yeah, it's 3 times more expensive, but you gotta be fine. Yeah, but if I leave here at 3 o'clock, I'll arrive there at 3:30, which doesn't leave me too much time before it gets dark to go to this remote longhouse. As I said in the beginning, a lot of things can go wrong. Which means that those nice people from the green buses actually were trying to scam me. They told me to be here at 12:30, and they told me to pay 25 ringgit. The bus to Kuching is 13 ringgit. They would have taken 25 ringgit from the stupid white man. Well, not that I would have paid them, but from any other tourist. And would have dumped them 5 kilometers from here on the highway. 25 ringgit for 5 kilometers to the highway, instead of 13 ringgit, which is about half of this, for the about 200 kilometers to Kuching. Usually, in Malaysia, you are not being scammed, except on the public transport. Yeah, so nice. By then, they would have had the 25 ringgit already in the private pocket. And, yeah, well, either the white man can get off and try to hitchhike to wherever he wants to go, or he can go to Kuching, which is the exact opposite direction of where he wants to go. It's kind of sad that I've never beaten up any of those people, but so many of them have sent me to the wrong bus station at the wrong time on purpose, and then when I come back to the same person, they say, haha, take a taxi, I have a friend. Survival resource detected. Activated. Big fat adult like me can last without any food for many weeks, and with minimal food for months, for up to 1.5 years. It's called starvation diet. The Nazis tried that out in the extermination camps. They thought, why should we kill those people when they can work? And even if they work, why should we feed them? Well, but if we don't feed them, they die. But they noticed, guess how many thousands of people died for this scientific result. The Nazis noticed that you can actually feed people a minimal amount of food. Well, if you don't feed them, they die after a couple weeks and cannot work most of those couple weeks. If you feed them enough, then they can work a lot. But if you feed them a starvation diet, they can actually survive for 1.5 years. So food is not really a priority. 3 o'clock, I can getting got on the bus. I think nobody told me that you're not allowed to bring durians. Well, who am I to know? I'm just a white man. Several blue mountains in the distance. Which one is my destination? Oh, here by the way, a nice historical detail. The white colonizers built a lot of forts, actually one, around, above the estuary, between the lower and the upper part of each river. This was to stop the Iban from genociding all the other local tribes. Okay, boss, can you drop me here? The city? Terima kasih. So next time you are looking for new job opportunities, remember that the Iban are maybe the most accomplished headhunters in the world. The last time they did official headhunting on a large scale was during the wars with Indonesia and during the Iban and socialist uprisings in the 70s, meaning that a lot of the nice smiling grandpas in the log houses and even a couple of the kind grannies in the log houses were once active headhunters. Always had a little bit of difficulties establishing close, friendly relationships with the Iban. They're a bit of a macho culture. Well, they're warrior and hunter culture. And they're a bit, like the Comanche or Apache of America, or like the Zulus of Africa, like the Russians or the Vikings of Europe, or the Japanese of Asia. They are usually acting a lot tougher than the other tribes. But on the other hand, they're also a lot more shy. It's quite difficult to hitchhike in Iban territory. And when somebody gives you a lift, they usually tell you that they were horribly scared, but still gave you a lift because they were also incredibly curious who is hitchhiking here. Actually, once when I was hitchhiking at night, the people told me, "We thought you were a ghost. We come back to make sure you are a human." Well, also they have kind of a drinking habit. It's in their culture. And I'm trying to avoid drinks. So it's always kind of an adventure. That the more remote the settlements are, the less contact they have with the outside world. The shyer they are, basically. Hey, but whatever I say, the Iban are great people. I know a lot of great Iban people. It's just that, it is always, dealing with them is always a little bit different than dealing with the other peoples of Borneo. Also, when I'm talking about some scammers in the transport industry. Actually, today everything might have also been a misunderstanding, but there are definitely over proportionally many scammers in the travel and tourist industry. The average, well, the average Malaysian, just as well as the average Indonesian or Thai or Cambodian, would never scam you, but people who want to scam foreigners usually work with foreigners. And it's quite bad, because the majority should really sanction those people, because they spoil the experience for everybody, for the foreigners and for the locals. So when I'm complaining about scammers in a particular country, and you are from this particular country or like this particular country, don't hate on me, but next time you see a scammer scamming a tourist, get a big stick and beat them up. No, not the tourist, the scammer. You will do your country and your people a big favor, believe me. Crossing a highway. Giant spiders. Well, crossing a highway is illegal in pretty much every country. Wait a moment. This is the official road. Even Google suggests to me to take this road for the next, 12, 13 kilometers into the hills. It might be a decent hiking trail, but I don't plan to hike the next 12 kilometers uphill. I plan to hitchhike. But I say that they even test your manliness in a lot of subtle ways. Last time I visited the longhouses in this area, it was also in the hills. One longhouse just dumped me at another longhouse. The chief had told them to dump me in the jungle, but they were too lazy, so they just dumped me at another longhouse in the middle of nowhere without telling me or the other longhouse people what's going on. And then the other longhouse people rode, well, one of them rode on a motorbike while I was carrying my heavy stuff for 5-6 kilometers in the scorching sun, all to see how far the stupid white man is gonna go before he pays a couple hundred ringgit for transport. So usually when you are with the Iban, you should be tough and strong. Right now I have kind of a stomach bug, so I will not even be able to march 10-12 kilometers uphill with my heavy luggage. So I'm basically screwed. This is a fruit foraging channel, so let's do some fruit foraging. Quite the puny Singapore rhododendron, very important medicinal plant. Some of the fruits are even ripe, but to be honest, they don't look too appetizing here. This little road here is steeper than many a staircase. It's what's even worse. I don't see any traces of traffic. I'm still near the highway. Still can abort the mission at any moment. Oh, I'm being watched. I guess from time to time some four-wheel drive makes it up here in dry weather. Whew. But it's quite obvious that there is no more than a car a week or so. Oops. So that's what the good road was for. Okay. Then straight through the oil palm plantation. Not a bad survival fruit, by the way. Provides you something which, unlike sugar, is in short supply in the jungle. Provides you with, well, as the name says, oil. Well, the plan was to hitchhike on this road through those about 300 meter tall hills, and then get to this village, which is about 350 meters above sea level, to the last log house in the area without electricity. All my power banks are loaded to the max, and from there start the ascent of the 800 meter tall mountain, which is not visible from here, which is a volcano and probably looks something like this here, which I don't think is the right one. All those plans depended on a non-existent road, which even Google suggests as a route, as an automobile route to this mountain. At least I found feral, invasive feral passion flowers, and wherever there are passion flowers, don't pick stuff with 20 kilograms on your back, especially if you got a pot belly. Wherever there are passion flowers, there are also passion fruits. Delicious, but don't forget to spit out the inedible rind. So to get to this village, I should do 12 kilometers to the road that doesn't seem to exist. There hasn't been traffic here for months at least. Otherwise, the grooves and everything would be much deeper. And after 12 kilometers of quite grueling climbing up and down the hills on the non-existent road, I'm still 2 kilometers away from the village. This would all be fun and games. This was at least real jungle. But those are rubber tree plantations. And I suspect that everything else will be rubber tree and secondary vegetation. So I checked again. This is the road Google wants me to drive on with my car. My non-existent car for a non-existent road. Makes sense. Of course I could start walking, but walking 12 kilometers through this stuff, I'm sure after a couple hundred meters I'll have to use my parang all the time. Freak! That sucks, man! Let's evaluate my options. It's 4 o'clock. Exactly 1.5 liters of water left. And around here, with so many oil palm and pepper plantations, drinking from any water source is a gamble. Firstly, the workers might have involuntarily directed crap, pee and food waste towards any water source. Secondly, oil palm and black pepper need a lot of pesticides. So my water is not enough to spend the night. This road seems to get better a kilometer or so ahead and is accessing a lot of black pepper and oil palm plantations. I would have preferred to take this gamble in the morning without being weakened by a stomach bug and with at least 3 liters of water in my backpack. So, let's be sensible, right? Nope. Let's be stupid. In a survival situation, any decision like this could be fatal. But I'm not in a survival situation. The highway is 200 meters away. I still have water. Nothing bad has happened so far. And Google kind of suggests that this road might get better further ahead. Might get better? Google? Is this one of your famous jokes? Oh wait, you are not even famous for jokes. Made it to the next oil palm plantation. If anybody tells me that oil palm is not invasive, send him this part of the clip. You don't harvest it, it spreads. Of course the squirrels are working hard to never let this happen, but the Iban are shooting hard because squirrels, despite their strong stink, are actually considered quite a delicacy. And I know most of those squirrels are actually tree shrews. Not squirrels, but everybody calls them squirrels. Oh look, a juicy grape on the ground. Oh! No, it's not a juicy grape. It's a Garcinia. It's a mangosteen. Oh! Look at that. This tree is hanging full of tasty orange mangosteens. When I first saw it, I thought it's Sardania. This mangosteen is incredibly sour. Cannot really eat huge amounts. This one is rotten inside. Yeah, in a survival situation I would be in quite a dilemma. Edible fruits, but so sour. Let's find a good one. Not a good spider. So sour, you actually don't know. I think I know. Those will not really improve my situation. If I had no water, chewing on something sour or bitter, sour like this Garcinia for example, will make the saliva flow. You will feel less thirsty. But actually you are taking in a lot of acids which dehydrate you. So you will feel less thirsty, but you will be more thirsty. It can be good. Sucking on it in very small amounts as a psychological method to improve to make you feel well. By the way, the sun, despite all being past 4, it's incredibly strong. Even though we have clouds half of the time. Do as the locals. For hundreds of thousands of years they walked around with few clothes, but nowadays they are covering every inch of their body. It's already past 4, but still, my legs, there are a lot of itchy plants, a lot of viruses and bacteria and stuff, a lot of sunlight. I'm gonna cover my legs. And also, I'm not gonna eat more of this Garcinia. It's just too sour. I have enough water. If I want to not feel thirst, I will just drink my water. Don't really ration your water. Ration maybe your last 200-300 milliliters. Your last 2 cups of water, you can ration them, because yeah, when you don't have enough water, just a sip or 2 in your mouth might make you feel a lot better. But for now I have enough water, I don't need to ration it. I should drink as much as my organism needs. Ration your foods, don't ration your water until the very last. And don't use such things in excess. Incredibly sour or bitter things that makes your mouth salivate, but don't really help you to prevent dehydration. Also, as often, the bus driver was more clever than me. He stopped 4 kilometers ago in order to let me out there. There was a good road in my general direction. Should have brought me much farther. Well, I trusted Google more than the bus driver. Sorry, nice bus driver. Also, somebody has been eating the oil palm fruits here, but not a squirrel. See? They are old marks from a squirrel, those brown marks. But the orange marks are from somebody who does not care about the seeds like the squirrel, but who cares about the fruit. Who? Monkeys, birds, some other animal? Who likes to eat? Who except for me likes to eat oil palm fruits and not oil palm seeds? Does it make sense to continue here? Well, let's eat some palm fruit. Did it make sense for the US to go to the moon? Not at all. The Soviets had already won the space race at least 10 times. Well, actually the Germans had won the space race at least 10 times. Then the Soviets had won the space race at least 10 times. And still, whenever Americans talk about space, it's always about their participation trophy of going to the moon. Yeah, it was super expensive. Yeah, it was a big achievement. But talk about the Germans reaching space in World War I. Then the Germans reaching space with rockets in World War II. The Russians, no, the Soviets, not the Russians, the Soviets putting the first satellite into space. Ufa. Soviets putting the first animal into space. Soviets putting the first human into space. The Soviets putting the first space station into space. Yeah. Well, reaching the moon was the biggest boomer participation trophy ever. Yeah, we took part in the space race. And, well, did it make sense? No. Does it make sense for me to continue here where the last vehicle has gone weeks ago? Also no. Are the Americans proud they reached the moon? Yes. So, shut up. By the way, about fertility, still getting mixed signals. This fern here and those orchids say poor soil. The bracken says good soil. And there is more than a bit of bracken here. It's in the minority, but there is some. So it seems this soil here is not good, not terrible. It's important for foraging, because in some ecosystems, richer soil means more biodiversity, poorer soil means less biodiversity. In other ecosystems, poorer soil means more biodiversity, richer soil means less biodiversity. Poorer soil also means carnivorous plants. Carnivorous plants around here mostly means pitcher plants. You can use the stems as cordage. Right now I'm not in lack of cordage. I'm in lack of water. And the pitchers, as the name says, are full of not water but fly soup. If you want a pitcher It's full of water instead of fly soup. You have to find one which is still closed. See the hundreds of insects inside? You don't want this. The survival situation, I would probably drink it and risk another stomach bug. But for now, I'll wait. Also, don't drink from this puddle. It's standing water. It will give you the cramps. Except in a survival situation. Dehydration is much worse than a stomach bug and will kill you faster. Also, yeah, the humans' disgust levels are lowered a lot in a survival situation. We know of records of people drinking horse piss or from pools full of human or animal corpses or drinking salt water. All those are very bad ideas. This is when the levels of disgust have been completely abolished and all those liquids are actually bad for you. But it shows that the survival situation is different and I'm not in one right now. You know what Smurfs can teach about survival? Yeah, those little blue thingies, those little blue animals being hunted by Gargamel all the time. Well, they eat sarsaparilla, which is actually still commonly consumed around here, foraged from the wild, and also still made into sarsaparilla root beer. Sarsaparilla in the US was usually not the sarsaparilla pictured in the Smurf comics, but sassafras. But around here, it's a true sarsaparilla. I think this could be it. It's never sufficient to try something, so don't. Tastes like sarsaparilla. But I guess there hasn't been enough rain around here. On the tough and bitter side. I know I've covered every inch of my body as far as possible. Only my hands, my face are open, and they are gonna suffer. Another pitcher plant. This pitcher was still closed. Is it clean? Yes. I lost most of the water. Let's see. Any other closed pitcher? Nope. My only source of juggle water, they wasted it because I picked it too quickly. Most of the pitcher plants haven't made new pitchers in recent times, I guess because of the lack of water. As long as there is enough water and sun, plants can produce endless sugar from air and water. Look at the size of this pitcher, but it's already open. Bug soup inside. This one is still closed. Let's drink without breaking it off. Couple droplets of warm water. Not really worth the calories I expended to, well, the calories and the sweat I expended to get it. Something that might be totally worth for small Iban or Dayak with an efficient metabolism might not be worth for a big guy like me with a much less efficient metabolism. I'll use a lot more sweat to pick one single pitcher than I'm gonna get water from this pitcher. That's the reason why bigger isn't always better. That's the reason, well, all giant animals go extinct sooner or later and usually leave behind tiny cousins. Those tiny cousins were not stronger, but they could survive with less. Here is Adenia, a relative of the passion fruit. Even looks like a passion fruit inside, totally inedible. A very obvious trail splitting off in this direction. Another trail continuing along the overgrown road. I want to stay on the overgrown road. Bracken, over 3 meters tall, 3.5 meters tall, meaning very fertile soil around here. I say it in many videos, the Iban of Borneo and my grandfather and the Shopi tribe in the Balkan Mountains, they both use the bracken, a globally species with global distribution as an indicator for fertility of the soil. Wherever you see bracken in the hills of Borneo, the soil is fertile enough to make a hill paddy. Wherever you see bracken in the hills of the Balkans, the soil is fertile enough to plant potatoes, which require a lot of soil fertility. Ain't it interesting? 2 different tribes at 2 different sides of the world using the same plant for basically as an indicator for basically the same thing. Another pitcher plant species with tiny pitchers full of delicious water. Let it be. Sarsaparilla stolons with tender tips. Let them be. A big buck. Reports from the 19th century state that the jungle is full of giant bucks. I think pesticides and light pollution have basically ended this. I've only seen an abundance of big bucks, very remote areas. Pesticides, well, a lot of them are designed to kick bucks. Light pollution. Bucks use, well, different animals use stuff like polarized light, the light of the moon and the stars and so on. Such things for navigation. Well, guess when you have a lot of lamps and they use them for navigation. The sun, moon and stars are basically endless far away. You can keep a straight direction, but you use the headlights of a car for navigation, you end up right in front of the car's bumper. And that's how a large proportion of the world's insect population is dying nowadays. Billions of those beautiful orchids around the locked areas. Light, they're attracted by light and they can deal with the bad nutrition much better than most other plants. A cluster of fruits up there in the tree. Pretty sure those grow the vine. So I should be able to shake them down. Did I mention that those ferns are gigantic? About 3 meters or 10 feet tall. My absolute favorite, the snowblade grass. Still don't know its official name, I don't care. For me, it's the snowblade grass. A couple unripe fruit clusters. And up there, a ripe one. It looked like it was less than 4 meters high. 6 to 7 meters. But in the process I discovered that getting to the highway might not be that difficult.